You're here from England.
I'm here from London, England, flying in for just this podcast.
Yeah, nothing else. Nothing else. And this is the first time I've seen you all day.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, we're working on a short film for all the people
who
don't know it. All right, so I'll just go in and start interrogating you.
Yeah, interrogate me. What do you want to know?
All right, so when did you first realize you were a creative person?
I never realized I was a creative person. It was before I have any memory whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was my parents that realized I was a creative person.
Yeah.
My mom always has this story of I loved Aladdin when I was a little boy, and I would be doing all the voices of the genie and doing impersonations and doing all these things, and then my parents said, like, yeah, we gotta get him involved in some acting, and then did some community theater and stuff like that, and then from there I got, really lured away by behind the scenes, and so yeah, it was just my whole life.
Yeah, I didn't realize you acted.
Yeah, I started out as an actor, child actor, and then moved more away from that. Last time I was really serious about acting was kind of when I was like 20, 21. I did 4 years resident at a theater in Denver. So,
oh, dang.
Yeah, and I did, something like 10 shows a year or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But then you just do everything apparently, music and directing and every, Okay.
Yeah, well, I think, if you are an artistic person, it's kind of hard to limit yourself. But people want you to limit yourself.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to market yourself as like, oh, I'm just an actor. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm that.
Yeah.
Like even when...
How can I label you?
When I first started dating my wife, she was straight up like, didn't believe me when I said I did all these things. And she's kind of helped me brand myself. Yeah. Like, no, you just have to focus on one of these things or everyone's going to think you're full of shit.
And she thinks you're confused and you're like, nah, honey. Yeah. So, all right. So did you ever like go to school for any of this?
So, I mean, I was really lucky to, my junior high and high school had a really amazing film program.
Was it one of those creative high schools?
Yeah, it was a charter school.
Okay, like Idlewild or not?
Yeah, well, it was in Apple Valley, because I lived in Apple Valley as a teenager. And it had a really dorky name. It's called the Academy for Academic Excellence.
Oh my god.
But they have a whole NASA station there, and so a lot of different things depending on what you're into.
Yeah, so not just arts.
Not just arts, and in fact, the arts is fading away from that school very sadly. Which arts is fading way too much in education. But yeah, amazing film program there that got started out in 7th grade, really.
So you were like making little projects and acting in them?
Yeah, acting in them. And, I started out making backyard movies before then with friends. But then I made my first, like, really serious film with, like, production design and adult actors. And not, like, porn actors. But, I was, like, a little, like, 14-year-old kid directing...
adults.
Directing, like, 50-year-olds.
Yeah. I guess that must have been, like, so much power. You're like, yeah, listen to me. 50-year-old. And the actor's probably like, oh... I will.
Yeah. Probably more serious and more intense
than we needed to be. Yeah, I feel like everything was more serious. Like when I first started out acting, obviously you don't want to mess anything up, but everything is just be so structured, and you learn to relax a little.
You do. That's kind of a sign. People who are too rigid, that's kind of a big sign that they're amateurs. Yeah. Because what you really learn is how flexible art can be.
Yeah.
And how flexible performances can be. And if you're too rigid with everything, it's just not going to be real.
Yeah, and when you're on set with people and something goes wrong, you want the people who are like malleable, or who will be able to
go with the flow
and have a good attitude most of all,
and gel with the rest of the cast and crew.
Yeah. So did you go to college?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't.
Okay.
No. What I did was I graduated high school, and I was thinking of college. I went to tour like Chapman and I think both USC and UCLA. Just to check out their film program and stuff. And I was a little bit interested in it, but a big part of me, I didn't want to get in debt. That was a big one, and getting that whole fiasco. So I took a year off and said I was just going to focus on just trying to make it. So I...
Sorry, quick question. You never wanted to do anything else, so because you knew you were creative.
I was one of those, as a high school student, I was pissed that I had to learn chemistry and algebra because I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I knew I wasn't going to use chemistry.
Ever.
And I'm like, why aren't you tailoring education to me?
Yeah, because I know who I am.
Yeah. So yeah, I took a year off thinking maybe I will go to film school, maybe I won't. Let's just see how it goes. I'm going to do some writing.
Yeah.
I had an amazing English teacher in 12th grade who let my senior final be my first feature screenplay.
Oh, cool.
So I wrote that, got connected with the producer, liked my content, pitched him a couple ideas. My second screenplay that I wrote, I optioned to him. Which is, you know what option is, or maybe I should just explain it anyways.
Because I would probably ask, but
yeah,
I think I can figure it out. But
yeah, so it's they like your idea, but they don't want to buy it yet because they don't know if they can get financing for it. So they pay you a certain amount of money less than what they would buy it for, just so you don't show it to anybody else.
Okay.
So, and there's like an option period. It can be like for a year, 3 years, 5 years, and you can't show it to anybody else during that period.
Yeah.
So I think it was like a 3-year option. With the intention to buy, and that was my second screenplay that I got an option on from this producer.
Question: how did you get in touch with the producer as a high school student?
So, I mean, the thing that everybody needs to find out about the film industry is it's not about how good you are. It's not. I mean that is part of it. Yeah, you do have to have some talent, but every time somebody makes it forward, it's because of who they know.
Yeah. That's
this film producer's brother worked for my father at a ski resort.
Oh, okay.
Because my dad's in the ski industry. So
yeah, very different industry.
Connections. That's what it is. It is connections.
Yeah.
So that's why he was looking at my stuff. And so yeah, optioned it to him. His name's Joel Castleberg, and he did Noah Baumbach's first few films in the 90s. Did a lot of indie stuff in the 90s. And took a break and was coming back to it. And this would have been in like 2006, 2007. Was getting back into the film scene after like 10 years or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, okay, well, I've optioned a screenplay, so one check there.
I am on track.
And then I went to the Breckenridge Film Festival in Colorado. Met a husband and wife producer-director team. They have the Star Entertainment Group, which is like the most generic name you can get for entertainment. But it's basically like their own company, and they'd done a lot of like exploitation films in the 80s, and they moved up into the indie scene, and their latest feature was gonna be at the Breckenridge Film Festival, so I got hooked up with them, became their personal assistant. Nice. They brought me to LA and flew me out a couple times to work on their sets. They were Academy voters. So they got to vote for the Academy Awards and everything. Here I am, 18 years old. I've optioned a screenplay. I'm a PA or a personal assistant for a film group. And I'm attending the Oscars with these people.
Goodness.
So I didn't decide to go to film school.
Yeah.
Because I'm like...
Because you're doing more than anyone who goes to film school.
And I'm 18 years old, and I'm just like insane. I'm
and
like,
you're
what
like,
is this?
I'm unstoppable. This is what everyone does in Hollywood, right?
So yeah.
So when you see that someone goes to film school, do you think like, oh, it's a waste of time, or do you think it's good for some people?
I don't think it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I think it's a waste of money. And if it was cheaper, I would go, and I would recommend everybody go. What I don't recommend is getting in debt for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because I took film books that were part of the curriculum, and I just read them myself. And I totally believe in learning, and I'm a lifelong student. But it's a really bad financial decision to make. God, yeah. So
when you were teaching yourself stuff, did you just kind of Google? Were there any specific resources online?
Yeah, I mean, you can see what the curriculums are that the books that they're teaching at these schools. So yeah, it'd be like the 5 C's of Cinematography book, and there was the Art of Watching Films, which is a fantastic book that I read. I'm sure it's evolved since then because this would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And watching a lot of movies. You learn a lot just through osmosis by watching a lot of films.
Yeah, just keep yourself surrounded by all of it.
Yeah, as far as my career goes after that, I stopped working for the Star Entertainment Group pretty quickly. I mean, the thing that I learned is you kind of need to get out there and start doing your own projects. There isn't a lot of room to start at the bottom and work up. I mean, you can work up a little bit, but if you want to be in the writer-director's seat, you don't start out as a PA.
No, because they are the writers and directors, and they're not going to hire you to be their writer-director, you know?
So you got to start making your own content, making your own projects, getting yourself known and your abilities. So, during this entire period, I was making little projects and doing some short films and stuff like that. But then in 2010, I started Happy Hour Sketch Comedy,
Is it a sketch comedy group you have? Or?
Sketch comedy group. It was just online. It was all YouTube based. We did 4 seasons of that. Something like 50 episodes. And that was really, really almost like a film school for me.
Yeah.
You would see at the beginning, you know, it was not even on HD camera yet. And then by the end of it, you just grew so much as a filmmaker.
Yeah. It's great being able to see all your progress.
Yeah, so I mean, you can really
years.
see the growth and really, you know, I figured out what worked and what didn't work and editing, pacing, and camera angles and working with actors. And it was just this great amount of practice.
Yeah. So were these all really low budget things? Or
really low budget. So the like first 2 seasons were no budget, self-financed by me and 3 other producers, or 2 other producers. And then season 3... we crowdsourced. So the first time we actually had a budget, which was amazing.
How did you crowdsource? Like how?
Yeah. So I went on Indiegogo, which is still going. What I love about Indiegogo is it lets you keep the money regardless. Kickstarter, if you don't get full financing, you don't get the money at all, and it all goes back to those people who pledged.
Okay.
In Indiegogo, we were asking for something like $5,000, and a percentage goes to Indiegogo, but a higher percentage goes if you don't make your 5,000. Yeah,
that's
your number.
So much pressure.
Yeah, so it's something like if you make it, we're gonna take 5%, and if you don't make it, we're gonna take 10%.
Yeah.
So you get something regardless.
Okay, so it's not like they take everything.
Yeah. So I think we made it. We were asking for 5. I think we made it to 3,500 or so. So we did have to pay the higher amount, but then we produced 8 sketches that season with a budget finally. So that was amazing. We were able to get, go to costume houses. We did one of my favorites is called Shakespeare Succumbs to Product Placement, which it was just a great
the products of that time are in his place.
No, there's modern products.
Modern,
and like by the end of it, he has a Mac and like it's just ridiculous. And I think we spent $700 on that one, which is like the most I'd ever spent on anything.
Yeah.
We got these beautiful Victorian costumes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
they just add to the
I
production
know.
value of it.
So it was amazing that way.
Got any advice for people who are trying to crowdfund?
Yeah. So I mean, the biggest thing is there's so many people trying to raise money for films, and they think going on one of those sites is like a way to get money from that community that's already on that site. But it isn't. Basically, what it is it lets your network that you already have know how serious you are. The majority of my funders were people I already knew that I was campaigning for, sending emails, sending messages. I did 3 events that were fundraisers around it. You kind of have to do this entire big campaign around the entire thing. And nobody gave me money who I didn't have some personal connection with.
Yeah.
It was either like somebody's who I'd worked with before's family or one of the cast member family or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Because I think a lot of people do go on those sites just hoping for the free buck from someone who they don't really have to talk to ever again.
Yeah, who happens to be on there. But I mean, it must happen to some people. It didn't happen to me. So.
Yeah, it depends on the project.
Yeah, and if I would have just put it on there and forgotten about it, I wouldn't have made any money.
Yeah.
So from there, after Happy Hour Sketch Comedy, I was kind of tired of doing comedy. Comedy's really hard.
Yeah.
And some sketches were great, some weren't. I have a very unique sense of humor. I don't like a lot of the pop humor that's out there.
Yeah.
Not very like Will Ferrell or anything like that. I mean, Will Ferrell's great and he's got some films that I love. But my personal brand of humor is much more like Christopher Guest.
Oh. I don't know who Christopher Guest is.
Best in Show, Mighty Wind, This is Spinal Tap. So like I really love the mockumentary stuff, the reality stuff.
Yeah.
But it's more subtle and things like that.
Okay.
So that's what I do a little bit better.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. So, the crowdfunding it was easier for you because you'd spent your whole life in LA and made the connections that way. Yeah,
it definitely was easier. And I also lived in small towns in California and stuff too. And small towns really love getting behind locals.
Yeah.
So
like
it was. I have a lot of gray hair fans. They're like, oh yes, you get this.
Yeah. So you did say since moving to England that it's been a little, well, not more difficult, but meeting people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's basically you go from somewhere where you have a lifelong network to somewhere where you don't have a network and you're building a network from scratch.
Yeah.
The majority of work that you get isn't from, cold calling people. It's from people who you've worked with before, bringing you back on new projects.
Yeah.
So when I'm in a country, so when I'm in a country where I don't know anybody.
Yeah. How do you make that first connection?
Right. So that's the hardest thing. So that's why it's been slow taking off. And I just got permission to work there in January.
Okay.
So, so I've only been allowed to work for a couple months, and it's just like slowly ramping up to it. I got my first director gig over there in March. So
Nice.
I did it fairly quickly.
Yeah. And were there any specific like networking events you went to, or did you just kind of always go to people and like, hi, by the way, I direct?
I went to networking events. I did. There's a couple of sites like Mandy.com over there, and shooting people and things like that where you can. Yeah, it's a great name.
Great.
Shooting people. Where you can go and you can apply for stuff. And they're like, oh, we need a director, and then you put in your CV and your reel and a little cover letter.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really work very well. What really works is going to the networking events face to face with people.
Yeah.
And then connecting with them and just talking about a project and getting being really, they see how passionate you are.
Be a cool person and people want to work with you. And
which is really hard to do online.
It is.
It's like you just gotta seem more annoying online.
Yeah, you're like, who's this guy? Delete.
You have to be passionate and careful not to be too egotistical too. That like you have that drive and you believe in your project, but don't come off like some arrogant a-hole.
Yeah.
That'll just kill it too.
Yeah. So can you talk about how you got involved? You're not starting your own film festival. You're taking over.
Well, I'm actually. It will be a new film festival, but it is a film collective that's been going on for a while. Okay. So in London, there's this absolutely amazing event that started in 2009. Called the group's called Kino London, and they do these short film open mics. So, which is one of the best ideas I've ever heard because, film festivals you have to pay all this money, and a lot of filmmakers don't have money, and the money they do have they want to put into the project and not into submission fees, and you only have like a 10% chance of making it into a festival a lot of times or less.
Yeah. So you're paying to.
So you're paying for rejection. You're paying for rejection. So this is an open mic, and comedians have it, and musicians have it, so it's about time filmmakers have it too. First come, first serve. A little bit of criteria for your film. It has to be like 6 minutes or under, so you can't just like show up with a feature and take over the entire event. And you showcase your work, and a lot of these filmmakers are people who haven't had the opportunity to screen in front of a live audience before, and that's really important. Sometimes you have to be in the room, feeling the vibe to know like, oh, that shot didn't work, that pacing didn't work, people aren't laughing, or it did work. So it's a really good growing opportunity. So I went to my first short film open mic in January of this year and submitted to it the next month. And the guy who was running it had moved to Buenos Aires, and the network was about to just kind of fizzle out. And I'm like, no, I'm going to keep this going. Yeah. And it was a network of about 1,200 London-based filmmakers.
Oh, wow. That's a
So I took it over, and now I have this, list of 1,200 potential collaborators that see me in this leadership position. Yeah. And so it's absolutely amazing. Yeah. So it's kind of like that's how you like supercharge your network.
Start a film open mic in your area.
Which I think everybody should in every major city.
Yeah.
Get in touch with Kino London at Kino London on all social media. If you want to know how to start it, let's start it anywhere you are, because it needs to take off globally.
Would it be crazy for you to start one in LA? Probably, because you don't live here. So it'd be a lot.
But I would advise it. You know, I mean, if you guys want to get something started, I know how to help you guys start one. So.
Actually, why don't we?
It would be amazing. I mean, we need these. We need these all over.
Yeah. Okay, and then so you don't pay to do that.
So
you don't
to be
pay,
in the network?
Or to be.
No, there's no dues for the network, so it's all free to join. For the event, it's a ticketed event. Yeah. So that's how we, can do it with pay for the admin time and pay for the venue and stuff like that. But the filmmakers don't pay. Yeah. It's just first come, first serve. But they, can invite friends and family with the ticket price and stuff like that.
What were you saying? I remember you mentioned something about I don't know if it was this or if it was a different.
So we're doing a film festival.
Okay. Yeah.
So
loved what you were saying.
So the same group. That does these open mic nights. We want to kind of diversify, all of our offerings. So we're going to keep the open mic nights really good as kind of like an entry level into the group, but then we're going to start a film festival as well. And
is it international?
Yeah, it'll be an international,
so, like,
but it'll be a short festival. Yeah, it'll be an international short film festival. And we're looking at doing it later this year. And I'm working with a couple people to kind of finalize everything and get it running. But basically, our vision was to eliminate all of filmmakers' tension points and conflict points that they have with film festivals.
Which there are a lot of.
There are a lot of.
Yes.
Film festivals can be very predatory toward independent filmmakers who don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's some great ones out there. I've had some great experiences, but I've had a lot of bad experiences and I've wasted a lot of money, and I don't want filmmakers to waste their money.
Yeah.
So our vision was to create a film festival that's very, very cheap to enter. And the way we can offer that is to do a peer-reviewed film festival. And everybody who enters the film festival is going to get feedback on their film. So if they don't make it into the film festival, they're at least going to know why.
And that means so much,
Yeah.
you know?
And so the way we can actually facilitate that is it's going to be peer review. So if you enter our film festival, you pay a very small fee, way cheaper than the average. Because the average film festival is $27 to enter. So we're talking, something under 10. And then you have to watch at least 3 other films and provide feedback on that in order for yourself to qualify.
Yeah.
And then we have a team of judges that are qualified, and anything that gets rated above a certain amount goes to the judges, and then anything under that, they just get sent their feedback as to why they didn't make it. But we'll put little things in there because obviously in a competition somebody could be a complete dick and just say like 0, 0, 0, hoping nobody does it for them. So if somebody does that, it red flags it and it'll go to the judges and they'll watch it anyways. But yeah, so you're going to get feedback regardless, and then if your feedback's good enough, then you're going to go to the judging committee, and then you're going to be an official selection in the film festival, and this is something we're going to do on a monthly basis, and then the monthly, there's going to be a monthly winner who gets placed into the annual film festival for free, so they don't have to pay the big money to get into the big festival, which is going to be like at a nice theater with like a 4K cinema projector and things like that. And that's why film festivals are so expensive is, some of these venues are like $400 an hour, So, so you can do direct to these monthly ones at a very cheap price point and still get featured if you're really talented, or you can spend more money and then go to the annual one and then still get reviewed and potentially get in it as well. So, just so it's fair, And then the other thing that we want to kind of differentiate ourselves with is right now, most film festivals are based on genre. So best horror, best comedy, best, all of this. But film schools that have a lot of money or a lot of resources or things like that, or if you have a celebrity friend who's willing to be in your project, are competing with people who are brand new to the industry and they just have a weekend and they don't have the nicest camera, but they have a really good idea. Like those two films are competing against each other right now, and it just doesn't seem fair. So we're actually talking of it going to be based on production budget. So
nice.
The award is going to be, best film over $5,000 spent, best film with only $100 spent, that kind of a thing.
That's so cool, right?
So yeah, so I'm really hoping it just kind of revolutionizes the film festival industry and actually makes it, more friendly to filmmakers and stop being so predatory.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for filmmakers who want to put their projects into festivals or? You're like, yes.
So, I'm a person who's wasted hundreds and hundreds of dollars on submitting to festivals, and learning a little bit the hard way. So basically, there's some great companies out there that do festival strategy. So I would recommend using some of them. And they actually will review your film for free. They'll look at your film, they'll tell you what they think your film can actually do in the festival circuit, and then if you want to sign with them for them to do the strategy for you, then you can pay them money. But they're at least going to give you opinion and just say, yeah, it's not really going to do well in the festival circuit, so you at least know not to waste your money. So there's like Festival Formula is one of them, so you can check them out, and completely free to review your film. The other thing is, there are, unfortunately, short films that are called like, oh, this was a festival short. Because festival programmers are kind of cliche in the type of content that they're looking for. So a lot of content that's really, really good content just isn't what they're looking for. They're very, very progressive and forward thinking, and they love to pick topics that are unexplored. Sometimes over more polished content.
Yeah.
So that's one way to kind of like really make it in is your topic and also who you are. Like they're really forward thinking for like LGBT
Yeah, I
and
noticed there's
minorities
a lot of, like,
and women and
scholarships for those,
those kind of things. So you know, you can decide to make a film about that. It's certainly gonna you know, those topics.
Yeah, just pick the most like hot topic this year and and just make something about it.
Yeah, but obviously, you know, you have to bring something unique to say about it and be qualified for it, you know.
Yeah.
You have to do that. But yeah, you know, a lot of times, if you're just a white person like I am, obviously, making films about white people who are straight white people, and even though it might be a good film, sometimes it's like
sometimes the world doesn't want to watch it.
It's like a lot of the world feels like they've seen those stories before, so they want to see a little bit more representation. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
The other thing is the length of your film. If you have a longer short film, say like, you know, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that, it could be really hard for festival programmers to program because they could have 3 other shorts that they like that are all 5 minutes versus your one short. So they might want to give it to the shorter films. So I think...
Do they get paid by how many are like accepted into the festivals?
No, I mean, because it's a submission fee. It's not a screening fee.
Okay.
So that's how they make their money.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, you know, lots of times if you're sitting there, you know, the pacing can drag when it's short after short after short.
Yeah, definitely.
So the sweet spot seems to be about 10 minutes. So I would recommend if you're going for festivals, try to do 10 minutes. If you can do less than 10 minutes, great. If you're pushing, like my latest film, Nora, is 14 minutes. We have made it into 5 festivals.
Yeah.
But I think we would have made it into significantly more had we gotten it down to the 10 mark.
Do you think it would be easy to chop that project into 10 minutes, though?
We're talking about it.
Yeah.
We're talking about it to ramp up to next year's award seasons of potentially doing that.
Because it's hard for people to take their idea and then just, like,
you can have a director's cut, right? Yeah, but then you can do that.
Yeah,
so.
like Axiom's going to be, like, 25 minutes or something. And, like, if you really get down to it, most of it, you know, wouldn't need to be there in the 6-minute short. Yeah,
but there's a lot you can just get rid of if you're really objective and you maybe have an editor who isn't involved in the project until that point can just be really honest and brutal with you and help you get to that festival length. Yeah,
sometimes you just gotta do it to get your name out there.
Yeah. Last festival tip
yes.
I will say is avoid the big festivals. You know, a lot of people want to go straight to Sundance, and Sundance has 9,000 submissions a year. And they program 40 shorts. Yeah. So you have a less than a 1% chance of making it into Sundance. So I think Sundance is something you can work up towards. But, you know, to get kind of your feet wet in understanding what film festivals are about, I think you start with the cheap festivals. There's festivals that are $5, $10, $15.
Yeah. Start
with those. Figure out what they're all about. Pick the ones that aren't just online festivals but have a real live screening, because those tend to be usually a little bit better. And then, you know, build up to those bigger festivals. And if you have the budget already, then of course, submit to whatever thing you want. Yeah. But if you're trying to save money, then
but
do
most
it that
of us
way.
don't have the budget.
But Cannes is the only exception to the big festival, because Cannes, unlike all of the other ones, doesn't charge. It's a free submission to Cannes.
So there's probably more than 9,000 submissions.
Probably more. Probably more highly competitive. But at the same time, it's like,
why not try?
You're not like, you know, profiting off of filmmakers that way. You know? So it's really kind of open. And for a big festival, I think that's kind of the right thing to do. You know, because they're making so much money on ticket sales and and all those other things too.
Yeah. Otherwise, they'd just be greedy.
I think you really need to have some art that isn't meant for other people. Yeah. Because it'll actually strengthen the art that is. So if you hold something close and say, this is just for me, when you go to write something that's for other people, you won't put unnecessary self-indulgences into it.
Yeah.
And for me, that's music.
Yeah.
So I write music for me. I don't care if you like it. I like it. I want you to like my films. I'm trying to make pop films, but I'm making personal music.
Okay, great. Okay, so you mentioned you went to the Oscars.
I did.
Which is like such a dream for everyone. So can you just tell them what that experience is like?
So it's like it's a once in a lifetime experience, at least the way I did it, because I hope to be at the Oscars eventually.
I know, I'm gonna be like, I hope to go once or more than once.
But this was like breaking into the Oscars, essentially what it is. So when you vote for the Academy, you are eligible for tickets, I think like every 3 years or so, because they have so many members that they can't even fill the theater.
Yeah.
Just overflows it. So this husband and wife producer team, who were Academy members, it was their year, and they were starting their own film festival. And it's against Academy rules to like sell your ticket to anybody, but you can give it to whoever you want.
Okay.
And it's you have a ticket for yourself as an Academy member and one guest. So as a promotion for their film festival, they were giving away their additional seat to whoever donated the most money to their film festival.
They're not selling it.
They're not selling it, but they were pretty close.
Yeah.
And
donation optional and encouraged.
Yeah. So they had the two highest donors to the film festival that they were taking along. And they wanted me to be kind of a documentarian filming the entire experience for them. So I knew going into it that I wasn't going to get to go into the Oscars, but I was going to kind of get to go up to the door.
Yeah. Which is very close to the Oscars.
Yeah,
so
which is
that's
very
good
close.
enough, you know.
So the film festival that they were doing was going to be an international film festival based out of Colorado. So they got this limousine, and they were going to drive people cross-country in a limousine from Colorado to Hollywood.
It's a long trip.
Long trip.
In a limo.
In a limo. And so I'm in there with a producer and director, the two highest donors, and myself, and the limo driver and the limo driver's wife. And and we're going cross country.
Yeah.
And it's Colorado, so the limo isn't the nicest, let's say. It's like a 1970s limo, and the guy's only used to driving people to prom.
Oh my God! Why would he accept the job to drive from California to LA?
Well, because I think it's the celebrity of it. And he's like,
I'm going to the Oscars too.
Yeah.
This is his Oscar story too.
Yeah,
You're sharing this with
exactly.
him.
So the guy who was doing the festival was kind of doing it a little bit out of spite to another Colorado festival who he didn't get along with very much.
Yeah.
So the day we're supposed to leave to go to the Oscars is like a Friday. And he decides, instead of leaving, he's going to drive through the town that has the rival film festival in the limousine. And he's going to, like, put the banner on the side of the limousine. And he's going to stand out the top, like, rubbing it in with everybody.
What? This is such small town.
It is such small town. And he actually got a hold of a real Oscar, too. And that was part of his fundraisers, like, come see the Oscar and stuff like that. And the people who were the highest donors got to deliver that Oscar back to its rightful owner, who was going to be a surprise to them.
Okay.
So he had that Oscar, so he's hanging out the top of the limousine, holding an Oscar, trying to rub it in, as if, like, the rival film festival people are just sitting, like, on the porch in their rocking chairs, being like, oh, there he goes!
Oh, that guy!
So he's wasting all this time, and, eventually we get going. We make it to the Colorado border around, 10, and we decide to keep going. Meanwhile, he hasn't actually set up accommodations for these people. So he's actually literally going into these hotels with the Oscar, hoping that those people are starstruck trying to get free rooms.
What? Has he ever been to LA?
He lives in LA. He is like Mr. LA. In LA, he's as eccentric as he can get.
Yeah.
But can't find the right person, so he just keeps going to the next, and then we were like halfway in the middle of nowhere in Utah. The limousine breaks down. It's like 1 a.m.
Because it's the shitty old limousine.
Yeah, and these are people who have paid a ton of money to the film festival to be treated like royalty. And, we don't even have reception, so he's out, like, trying to flag cars down. Well, when you get to reception, can you call us a tow truck? A tow truck eventually gets to us. He doesn't want to drive us forward. He wants to drive us backwards to his town, which is like an hour back.
Yeah.
And then we wake up on Saturday, right before Oscar Sunday, and then figure out what's wrong with the car. It's whatever charges the battery won't charge the battery.
Okay.
So once the battery is dead, the car's dead. So what he decides to do is he gets a ton of batteries and kind of alternates them going in, gives it a jump, and then puts the other battery in another car that's following us.
Okay.
To charge up, and then once that dies, pulls off to the side of the road, swap, get a
batteries.
jump. And yeah, so it was kind of ingenious.
Yeah, it's thrifty. It's resourceful.
Because we were in the middle of nowhere, and the part to charge the battery would have been like days to get to us.
Yeah.
So that's what we do, and we stop in Vegas for a little while, around 11, and he again goes into the hotels with the Oscar trying to get free accommodations and can't find any.
It's so tacky. How do you
tacky.
How do you have that conversation? Hi, I need a room. Like.
I'll let you take a picture with it. I think that's what he said. I think it's literally
Oh
what he
my
said. And then he even wanted to go like down the strip out of the top of the limousine with the Oscar, like holding it and flashing it. Like this guy is, it's hilarious.
I mean, did he let anyone else stick their head out holding the Oscar? Sounds like it's all his day.
And meanwhile, the people who pay all this money are just like getting more over it and more over it. And his wife, who's the other Academy voter, is like super stressed out because of the way he's acting. And she had this allergic reaction to where like her face would like break out in like hives due to stress. So she didn't want to go to the Oscars.
Okay.
So they had this additional ticket, and they offered it to me. They're like, you can have it if you can get in. Because it has like, a woman's name on it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. Like, I'll try. I don't have to pay in advance or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see if we can go. So we pull into LA finally at like 7 a.m. on Oscar Sunday. We drop the people off at their hotel. I'm crashing at his place, which I think is like in Burbank or something like that. And then get a couple hours of sleep, then wake up, get in the tux, and start going to the Oscars, wondering if I'm going to get in or not. We pull up in the limousine, and, instantly, he wants me to film the entire thing. So I get out with my camera, and then security's all over me.
Yeah, is it
like
a really conspicuous camera?
Well, yeah, I mean, it would have been 2010, so it's, it wasn't, I don't think GoPros were even a thing then, So it was like, it was a decent big camera. So they want me to put it back in the car, so I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, fine. I put it back in the car. Tobey Maguire was in the limousine in front of us, so I'm like on the red carpet at the same time as him getting out of, but security's all over me.
Yeah.
And then we walk in to the security area, and they want you to give up all of your phones. So he wanted to get phones into the Oscars because his idea was he was hosting another fundraiser back in Colorado where he was going to call people from inside the Oscars. Like, I'm here at the Oscars, Colorado people.
Yeah.
So he hid cell phones on all of us, hoping that they wouldn't find
Where,
them.
like in your pant legs?
Yeah, literally.
Like a little gun strap or whatever
And,
with the phone?
Out of 7 cell phones, we actually managed to get like 3 in.
Oh my god!
He kind of was schmoozy, and I think knew a lot of the people who were actually doing security because he was more connected, so they didn't even happen to be glanced down at the name on my ticket.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm in. So I'm actually made it past the barrier.
And you're like, oh my god.
And I'm like super nervous, right? I'm 18 years old.
And not a woman, which the ticket says here.
And there's 2 lines. There's the Express celebrity line, and then there's like the Working Hollywood line. So we're in the Working Hollywood line, to get into the Oscars, and everybody famous is going past and getting their pictures taken. And eventually, like, we round and we make it in, and we're in, the Dolby Theater, right? Yeah. So he wants to kind of do his crazy old thing, and he gets the cell phones out, and he wants me to do stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm in here. I'm not getting kicked out of here.
Yeah.
So I just sit in my chair, and I enjoy the show. Meanwhile, he takes the cell phone, and he literally told me the story afterwards about how he chased Jack Nicholson into the bathroom and tried to get Jack Nicholson on the phone with the people in Colorado.
What? Oh my god.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And apparently Jack Nicholson grabbed the phone from him and said, no, and then like shut the phone. So I'm just sitting there thoroughly enjoying the show, completely blown away. It was the year The Departed came out, so it was the first year Martin Scorsese finally got his Oscar, which was super deserving. And this director was who I worked for was having a little bit of director envy. So everybody's...
Who does he think he is, by the way? Like, this whole story.
1980s exploitation film. And when I think Scorsese had been nominated 8 times,
Mm-hmm.
and he finally won for The Departed.
Yeah.
So he gets a complete standing ovation from his peers. And the guy I worked for was, I think, the only person who sat, did not give a standing ovation, and did not clap for Martin Scorsese getting his Oscar.
What point is he trying to prove, and who does he think cares?
I know. It's absolutely insane. So what we do, we thoroughly enjoy the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get into any shenanigans like he does. And afterwards we're leaving, and I'm thinking, like, this is just the craziest thing of my life. This is, like, amazing.
Yeah.
It's not going to get any better than this.
Yeah.
And as I'm standing there, he's, like, talking to a couple people who are lingering, and we're outside the Dolby Theater, and around the corner comes George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola,
Mm-hmm.
who presented the award to Scorsese.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big George Lucas fan, I have to say, but Francis Ford Coppola, oh my god, I absolutely adore him as a director.
Yeah.
So, like, I am flabbergasted, and I'm like, this is my chance. So I just reach my hand out as he's passing me by, and one of his favorite films of mine is this little film that not a lot of people know about called Rumblefish, that he did in the early 80s. And I'm like, Rumblefish is my favorite film. And he, like, shakes my hand, he says, oh, thank you very much, and just walks past me. And I'm like,
And you're
nothing's
done.
gonna get better than this. Nothing's gonna
I
get
can
better
imagine
than this.
Rumblefish is my favorite film. Imagine.
So,
Oh my god.
that could have been it. That could have
Yeah.
been it. That could have been the night. But this director decided that the night was not over.
What?
He wanted to get into the Vanity Fair after party.
Of course.
So he says the only way to get in is to be on the guest list, to be
Okay.
a celebrity, or to have an Oscar in hand.
Oh
And
my
he
god.
had an Oscar in hand, so he removes the nameplate from it,
Oh.
because they actually mail you the nameplates like
Yeah.
a week later.
Yeah.
And gets in the limousine. He knows where the party is, and he drives through the security, and the security doesn't want to let us in. And he's like, oh, we have an Oscar, we have an Oscar. And they're like, yep, come right this way, because they saw it was like a real Oscar
Yeah.
and everything. So we made it into the Vanity Fair after party,
Cool.
and he knows that these people know him,
Mhm.
and they know that he didn't win an Oscar.
Yeah, because
So
everyone
he
was
shoves the
watching
Oscar
the
in my
Oscars.
hand.
What?
And he's like, you're gonna hold this Oscar, and you're gonna lead us in. So here I am walking around the Vanity Fair after party with an Oscar in my hand.
Yeah.
And it's Vince Vaughn. I saw Leo DiCaprio,
Yeah.
Al Gore, Oprah, like everybody's everywhere, and it is absolutely insane.
Oh my
And
god.
I get a tap on the shoulder, and I turn around and it's Martin Scorsese, and he hands me his personal camera, and he's like, "Hey, can you take a picture for me of me and my friend?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Sure, of course." I take a picture for him, and he looks down and he sees that I have an Oscar in my hand. And he says, "Oh, you got one too."
Oh no! Oh my! And you're like, I'm somebody.
I know.
Oh my
And then I just start talking with him just really briefly, and I have really thick eyebrows, as you can tell by the video. And I said, on set, a lot of my friends have nicknamed me Scorsese because of the thick eyebrows.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, people with thick eyebrows are more creative." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, thanks." So that was like the extent of our,
That's
exchange.
enough. That's
And that's just totally enough. So that is the peak and the pinnacle of the story. As if like any of those
Yeah.
moments could have been the climax. No, that's the climax.
Wow.
Yeah, literally the entire story. I'm like, what could you even possibly say that will add
Beyond
to it?
that.
And oh my god.
So yeah.
So did he ask you? Did you have to lie to him about having an Oscar? Did he ask you
No,
any
he just
questions?
brushed over it.
Okay, so he
Yeah.
wasn't, because he doesn't care if you're like
Yeah.
an assistant writer or
there's-
whatever.
Yeah, because he obviously didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure, he was just thinking about, am I going to win? Am I
Yeah.
not going to win?
Of course.
To where he wasn't paying attention to every person who walked on that stage. And, some of the minor awards, there's like 5 people walk
Yeah.
on stage for like,
Half a
sound
second,
editing
yeah.
and things like that. So
Yeah.
I could have been one of those people to him.
Oh my god.
The 18-year-old kid with the Oscar.
18-year-old kid. And then we eventually, they did give the Oscar back to the person. And it was Louise Fletcher for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, okay.
I was holding her Oscar, Louise Fletcher's Oscar.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get an Oscar and recreate your name.
Yeah. So if you
Let's
want
see,
to break
let's do
in
it.
to the Vanity Fair after
Yeah.
party, steal an Oscar.
Easy. Let's do it, guys.
That's the new heist. That's the new heist.
The new, yeah. Oh, that'd be a
Yeah.
good heist movie.
It is.
Yeah.
am writing it actually. I've
You
written
are?
I've written a version of it, and I'm
Mhm.
rewriting it, and it is kind of that experience put into a feature screenplay. So
Yeah, that's perfect.
see if I can sell it around Hollywood.
I'm sure you can.
So yeah, that's that story for you.
Oh, at any point were you like lightheaded or?
Yeah.
I still am.
You think
I
it was?
still
You
am.
might have actually just been asleep the whole time.
Yeah,
It was
right?
a dream.
No, it was
Yeah.
one of those things to where I was so young and I was so nervous about being
Yeah.
kicked out of something like that. I was just on
Yeah.
my best behavior. I mean, the Vanity Fair after party had an open bar, so I
Mhm.
could have gone and gotten some booze. I was like, no, I'm not drinking a single drop of alcohol
Yeah.
here. Like, there's celebrities.
Yeah. You know what's funny though, and what's crazy is it was this guy's like kind of insane mentality that made it all happen. Like
It wasn't me at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't me at all.
Like, I mean, it's like, and we make fun of people like that, but it's like, he
It
actually
worked.
had the most successful night probably ever,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe that's how he got his success.
Yeah,
Just by
just
randomly
being that gutsy.
forcing himself, because I guess technically what's the worst thing going to happen? Or you're going to get
You
thrown
kick him out,
out.
you're not going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Did you get any cool pictures with people? Or did
Yeah, I
you
got
not want to,
some-
like, be that guy?
I didn't want to be that guy, but
Yeah.
we did get some cool pictures. I got some. It was more of other people
Mm-hmm.
and things like that rather than me there. I did get some pictures with some like not so famous people. But there I do have a personal picture that I took of Al Gore talking to Kate Winslet.
Mhm.
That was super cool.
So just you took a picture of their conversation.
Of their conversation. Yeah.
I would do, like, a selfie, but them talking to each other in the
Yeah.
background, like... like, just to prove I was here.
Yeah. So yeah, so it was amazing.
That's
Absolutely
awesome.
insane story.
Yeah, I loved it. All right, we can. If you, I'll move on to the next.
Yeah, move on to the next one.
Great. So if people don't want to put their films into festivals, the other option is distribution.
Yeah, you can just go straight to distribution. And people will still see your films.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of distribution channels out there for short films. Some are genre specific. Like one of the people that I really love to work with is Fun Size Horror, and they have an online platform, and they can do anthologies that are available streaming on Amazon Prime,
Mm-hmm.
and
Awesome.
they do stuff from very low budget indie stuff to more polished stuff, and they kind of give
Yeah.
everybody a voice.
Okay, question. I mean,
So,
I know
yeah.
you probably have more to say, but how do you even find it? Because you've name dropped so many companies that are going to be so helpful to these people. How did you even come across them?
It's just getting yourself out there. You just
Yeah.
find them slowly but surely eventually.
Yeah.
Fun Size Horror, I know the founders of through mutual friends. It's
Mhm.
actually run by a great producer named Michael May and his colleagues Molly Elfman, which is Danny Elfman's daughter,
Okay.
and Zeke. Pinheiro, I think that's his name. If he's,
Mhm.
I don't think he'll listen, but
We're sorry, Zeke.
Pinheiro?
He's actually an avid listener, and you're insulting our audience.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so. So that's a good
Yeah.
one for horror specific stuff. There's other ones. Sophie.com does really good short film stuff. They're a subscription model and just kind of like Netflix.
Yeah.
So I think it's like $5.99 to join if you want to watch everything, and then you get paid for per views, like royalties.
Oh,
kind of
wow.
thing.
That's awesome.
Yep. And then if you're exclusively with them, you'll get a better percentage than if you're also with like other distributors as well.
Yeah.
Shorts TV is really good. They do international. They're like international TV channel that I'm sure you can get on like satellite stuff. And, when you add on your channels and things like that.
Yeah.
That's another good one. Yeah, those would be probably some of the best that I would recommend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can always self-distribute.
Yeah.
Go to Vimeo and try to be a staff pick for
Okay.
Vimeo.
And I guess if you're choosing the distribution route, you don't have to follow the same criteria as, I mean, like it's not as beneficial to be short or any.
But the thing is, distribution is infinitely easier for feature films. 'Cause that's what people are used to.
Yeah.
And I think there's it's weird. There's more of an audience for longer films than there are for shorter films because people are even more ADD with short films, I feel.
Yeah.
And
They're
not
like,
a lot
if
of
I'm
people
gonna-
are that into it.
Yeah, if I only give like 20 minutes, it has to
Yeah.
be a good 20 minutes. But this movie, I'll
Yeah.
sit for an hour and let's see if they grab me.
Yeah,
you know?
if you have a feature film, you can try to get distributed through like Netflix or things like that.
Is that difficult? Or do
I've
you know?
never tried with
Yeah.
Netflix. I'm pretty sure it's much more difficult. Amazon, I actually do have some films of my own on Amazon
Really?
Prime.
Cool.
They're much more easier to deal with. You just kind of have to have certain criteria that you get, like closed caption on your film and things like that.
Yeah.
And Amazon's trying to take over the world,
Yeah.
so they kind of just want anything.
I mean, they've taken over my mailbox, so
Yeah,
that's
I
the first
mean,
step.
they want to, put, if you have a business, they want to put you out of business. Like if you're Deliveroo, they'll put you out of business.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a film studio, they'll put you out of business. They want everything. So
Those
they will
greedy
take
bastards.
They
We
will
wanna
take
work-
your content.
Yeah. And I will work with you, greedy bastard.
And they'll give you money for your content
Yeah.
too. So I get monthly royalties from Amazon.
Really? Is it based on the viewers also?
Based on the viewers. You can sell with them. So like if you don't want to be on Amazon Prime streaming for free, you can, be on Amazon and charge, like $3.99 or $10. You can set your own price if you want to.
Yeah.
But, for a not established filmmaker who people
There's
don't
no
really know your
need.
name, people aren't going to pay that.
Yeah.
For free on Amazon Prime, they're going to give you a shot, and then you're going to get a royalty for that.
I mean, I'm very hesitant to pay $3 for movies everyone knows.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Okay, that's a whole different rant. That was stupid. Cool.
So, yes, that's a little bit basics of distribution.
Yeah. All right. So, your most recent project.
Yep. My most recent project
Nora.
is called Nora.
Mm-hmm.
It's my first film that I've produced in the UK, and I got it all through networking.
Mm-hmm.
So I showed up to a networking through the Kino London network, and I met this doctor who had a midlife crisis and wanted to be a film producer.
Mm-hmm.
So he started to kind of go around sets and just kind of help out for free, holding a boom mic, doing whatever he could.
Yeah.
And then he decided it was time to make his first film. And over there they have what's called the NHS, the National Health Service.
Mm-hmm.
So they have one single payer healthcare over there that everybody gets for free that's covered by taxpayer dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And it's currently under quite a bit of threat of privatization. There's kind of this big conservative movement to say, like, we want to pay lower taxes.
Okay.
And you can take that away, and then, we want a choice, so if we want to go pay for healthcare, we can, but if we don't want to, we don't have to. Versus, currently everybody pays something for it, and that's how it's funded. So it turned 70 this year, so it's been around for 70 years, the NHS. So this doctor's idea was to personify the National Health Service in the character of this elderly woman on her 70th birthday.
Oh.
And her health is failing a little bit, and she's getting a little bit frail and old, and her family's talking about whether they should put her in a private care home.
Wow.
So it's all kind of this political allegory, and kind of builds up. It's an emotional family drama that's pitched as a mockumentary, so when you first start watching it, you're not sure if it's real or not. And then by the end, you really realize, no, this is an allegory.
Yeah. Which I also want to say, it's funny because it takes back to the point you made about making your short films, have it be relevant.
Have it be relevant.
So that people watch it and they know. So you follow your own advice.
Yeah, I do. Eventually, after tons of content, I will eventually follow my advice. So that's the concept of the film. And we were lucky enough to get picked up by a TEDx event that does, TED Talks that you see on YouTube and everywhere. And we had our premiere with them at the BFI IMAX, which is the largest screen in the UK.
Oh, great.
After a day of TED Talks, we were the centerpiece at the very end, the grand finale, on the same screen that, The Dark Knight premiered on, which was incredible to see your film up there and to actually have it hold up.
Yeah.
'Cause, I didn't shoot on IMAX like Christopher Nolan did. I shot on digital. And it was a beautiful experience, an audience of 500 healthcare professionals that are like key decision makers in the UK.
Oh, and this is playing on
it's
their
a
heartstrings.
It's a total tearjerker, and they're crying at the end of it, so it was amazing. So that premiered in August, and we've been in the festival circuit since, and we've been in 5 festivals, and I flew over here to do your project, and in mid-air, it finally won its first film festival for Best Short. So.
Oh, that's so amazing!
So, and the journey continues with it.
Yeah,
so.
this isn't your first winning of a.
No, I have won some film festivals before, but it's my first one in a while.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I guess. My previous one, Avery Road, which was about women's reproductive rights, actually did win Best Short Drama as well.
Oh, great.
But it was at a much more minor festival than this one. This one was a bigger festival. So.
Yeah.
And then before that, I hadn't won since I was 18, and I won the Best Under 18 category for Shriekfest Hollywood, which is a great horror festival if you have content to send to.
You seem to know a lot about horror festivals.
Horror festivals are amazing.
You just got so excited.
They are. The thing about the horror community is they are by far the most supportive of indie filmmakers possible. They don't care if your film's terrible.
Yeah.
You know,
They
if
wanna
it's
see blood
fun,
and guts
if it's fun, they want to see it.
Mhm.
As opposed to every other aspect of the film industry is a bit pretentious.
Yeah. So are you suggesting to make horror films?
It is a lot nicer.
Okay, nicer, not easier.
You're gonna have a better experience.
People might appreciate your work more.
Yeah. I think you're gonna work with some cooler people,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah.
All right. So, I mean, are you still submitting Nora to festivals, or is that like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if we're actively submitting anymore, but we're finding out daily. Film Freeway is what we submit through.
Yeah.
Which is the best platform to submit through.
Is there anything that happens after submitting and hearing back from? And this is just because I actually don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the ultimate goal? I mean, yeah, obviously the ultimate goal is to win. But are there, like, once you win that, do you want to take it and submit it to a bigger festival? Like,
yeah, so that's kind of the journey. Like I said,
Yeah.
I would recommend starting with the smaller festivals. And then if you have a winning streak, then go to a bigger festival because you might have a hit on your hand.
Yeah.
And the programmers might like that.
Okay, so they would probably look and see that you've won something already and take it more seriously? Or do you think that doesn't
They
really...
would for short film. The main big film festivals want premiere status for features, but most of them don't care for shorts. So definitely look at their criteria, and if they want premiere status, then and you've shown it elsewhere, then don't even bother.
Yeah.
And it's regional premiere usually, like the UK premiere, the US premiere, the Australia premiere, things like that. But if they don't care, then go to the bigger festivals after you've had a good streak.
Okay, cool. Because I actually had no idea what to do. You know, like, after that, it's like, okay, I guess just work on the next project, but you can just take one project and keep doing things with it.
That's the thing for artists, and I've learned the hard way too, is I'm kind of done with the project once it's premiered.
Yeah.
Like, but what you really have to do is, it's a big job just to get it seen. And if people aren't watching your work actively, then it's kind of like, well, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? Yes, it's very cathartic release, and I'm an artist, and I do this because I have to do this. This is who I am. It's my identity. But the real work starts once it's done. Getting it seen. Yeah. So.
Because it's that feeling of like, okay, what's the next thing? What, you know, and how can what's my next, not like thrill of making a new project, but So do you enjoy any of that stuff, the networking and the distributing?
Well, I mean, I enjoy networking on a personal level and meeting future collaborators. And I mean, I like to win. Who doesn't like to win? That's really nice.
To win.
But I would say,
sorry, I really do. Game nights.
Competition is real.
Yeah.
But I would say the majority of what you experience once the project's done trying to get it seen is frustration. It's 80 to 90% frustration and 10%, oh, this was nice. As opposed to the filmmaking process for me is like just a delight from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I love pre-production. I love production. I really love post-production. Seeing the project all finally come together. The premiere is incredible. And then submitting to festivals and getting rejected and spending money and trying to, convince people that, you're really good and you should fund my next project. That stuff's laborious.
Yeah, because at the earlier stages, you're in this, like, safe bubble of people who believe in you.
Once you get greenlit for your next project, it's just like heaven until then, unless you have really shitty collaborators. So.
Yeah. All right, so is there anything you need to plug right now? Or?
If you want to get in touch with me, you can go at DCM, that's my initials, Dustin Curtis Murphy. So at DCM Filmmaker. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, DCMFilmmaker.com. If you want to collaborate, if you just want to check out my work, my portfolio, or get in touch or ask questions, reach out to me. If you want to do a short film open mic and you're interested in what Kino London is doing, you can do kinoshortfilm.com or Kino Short Film on any of the social media handles. And you can get a hold of us that way and maybe submit to our festival.
The open mic is monthly, but the festival is...
Yeah, the open mic is monthly. It is a local event, so part of the criteria is you do have to show up to introduce your film in order to be qualify for it.
So you're saying we're traveling to London.
You have to travel to London,
Okay.
Or you have to start your own in LA.
Oh, and then so if I have my own one-person short film, if I watch my own thing, technically, then I can be involved.
There you go.
I'm gonna sit in my room in my PJs watching
my
own short films. Actually, I have a question, and then we can wrap it up. Do you think it's worth it to spend the time trying to raise a lot of money to make a film, or should you just, if you have a really good idea and you don't really want to save or take the time to earn the money, just try to make a good kind of low quality thing. Not low quality, but you know what I mean.
Low budget.
Yeah, low budget. Yeah.
No, I'm an absolute firm believer that the worst thing you can do is just not make anything. Make it at the level that you're at with your talent limitations, with your budget limitations, because and you're going to learn from it. I made films fully and wholeheartedly the best I could from age 11.
Yeah.
And I did the best I could at age 11, and then I did the best I could at age 14. And if you go back, some of it's unwatchable, some of it's terrible. But I learned something from that experience. The worst thing you can do as a filmmaker is hold your project too tightly and need it to be perfect. Your next project's going to be more perfect. Yeah. So make something, get it out there, get it seen, get feedback, grow as an artist, and learn from what you did right, learn from what you did wrong, and then, do your next project after that. Yeah. Because if you don't make anything, you're not going to get any better.
Yeah. And because by the 4 months it takes to get to your dream budget, I know I would already have 5 other ideas, and then it's like the frustration, am I going to wait 3 years and have 10 billion more ideas to make it? And then you hear these...
technology is so accessible these days. Like your iPhone is an incredible camera. Steven Soderbergh is making features on your iPhone. Like, there's no excuse these days.
Okay, guys, there's no excuse. Submit your short films to his festival. All right, cool. You're all plugged in the
all plugged in.
Appreciate you sitting down and taking time with us.
Absolutely, it's an absolute pleasure. I love
thank you so much. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
We're not gonna chug, but we're gonna take a sip and stand up and walk off. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I didn't tell him that yet.
We have to walk out. That's part of it. It's part of the
but
bit.
we can sit down and be all like.
It's like elevator music.
Oh shit. Sorry.
All right.
That was good.
Yeah, that was fun. Short film open mic. Reach.
Start over.
If you.
Someone's not paying attention.
Clearly. Someone's just excited. He's going back to the old content of what was that one thing I need to...